Beloved, I don't know what traumatic situation you're trying to handle right now or you're handling in your life right now. And, I woke up this morning, early hours of the day, like normal. And of course, like a message just came, like a song. It's a song just came. Thou art my rock. Oh, blessed Redeemer, thou art my rock. In you will I hide. Thou art my rock. Oh, blessed Redeemer, thou art my rock. In you will I hide. And that song keep on come. It kept flashing. And of course, I realized I was singing this song. And when I woke up, I stood up from the bed around 5 o'clock. I stepped out to sit in my normal position where I have my devotionals, and of course I pray. And in my devotional, I opened my devotional flash, and of course, what came out for me was Psalm 31, verse 3, which of course it talks about, Thou art my rock. David talking to God, and of course, in his ways, David in his way, and of course, in his journey, he knew he had a lot of enemies in his walk with God, in his activities. He knew enemies existed, and of course, he has a way of going back to God in worship and in praises, singing sweet praises to God. And of course, he knows in that praising to God, it's where he gets his strength. In that praises to God is where he gets his stability. In that praises to God is where he gets his strength. And of course, that is where he finds out that God listens to him more. And of course, in his praises, God settles for him. And of course, when he asks questions and whatever is his challenge, he knows he gets his response from God through his sweet worship and praises to God. And of course, a song came in the morning, and of course I started praying. Of course I started singing the song, and of course what later came was that same scripture talking about the same thing. Right now, I don't know what you're going through. Look, three things will make you to deviate or to run from God, especially in a relationship where you have started, you feel is doing well, and suddenly that relationship is going down. I don't know why I have to take the message this way today. The scripture is found in Psalm 31 verse 2. He said, Thou art my rock. That is where he started, and those were his messages. And of course, in essence, David found strength in relating back to God and singing praises to God. I don't know what you're going through in your relationship. And of course, like I said, some few things will make you to run back from God, because when things are not working in your relationship, some few things will happen in that relationship that will make you to start drifting, start going back from God. Number one is that when you did not start from the instruction, the biblical instruction God has given to you about your relationship. Who are you going out with, or who did you go out with? The person you're settled with now and it looks like it's not working. How did you start that relationship? If you discover you started the relationship without taking the biblical instructions from God on what to do before you go into relationship. I had a video on this channel where I talk about maturity in spirit, maturity in the physical. Maturity generally it helps in relationship, because sometimes when you're not matured spiritually, when things happen in relationships, some things comes in your relationship to make you strong. Some things happens in your relationship to make you stand firm. Some things happens in your relationship to give you a message for the next person that is coming, or for someone who is passing through times and is finding it difficult to really know what the message is in that relationship or in his or her relationship. So some things happens in your relationship just to give you a message for the next person, just to help the next person. So if you decide not to go back to God in times like that, especially when you're finding things difficult, it then means you never even started well. And of course, we are human. Most times when you don't start well, and of course, even our dealings with our parents, when your parents gives you an instruction on something to do, and of course, along the line, you didn't do it that way, and of course you discover is failing, is falling apart. And of course, sometimes as human, we find it difficult to go back to our parents, because the instruction was there for us to take, the right step was there for us to take. And of course, if we fail to take the right step before we go into things, or whatever we decide to embark on in life, whatever journey, and we decide to take the wrong step from what our parents tells us to do, most times we find it difficult to go back to our parents. We are ashamed, we feel disappointed, our parents will be disappointed in our actions, so we find it difficult to even go back to our parents for guidance and counseling. And that is exactly what happens when we don't take instructions from God for our relationships. We don't take the biblical instruction about what is there for you, about the right thing for you. When we don't take instructions, so we sometimes feel shy to go back to God to take instruction. Number two is that you discover you're not consulting the right people, because the right people will always tell you the right thing, and of course they might fall back to what you did which was wrong. They might want to remind you. Sometime when you meet people in the field out there, they remind you of what you did not do well, and of course we human, we most times don't want to hear what we have done wrong. We don't want people to caution us. We don't even want to take correction from what step we have taken which was wrong, which never helped us. We most times don't like to take instructions that way, and so it keeps us in the same position, and of course it keeps us falling back from God and doing the wrong thing. Most of the times we just keep on doing the wrong thing. So some of the things that will make you not to go back to God in those times like that, or in periods like that, is that you never started well and you still don't want to go back and start well, or you don't want to take the right counsel, the right advice on what to help you. The third thing that happens in situations like this is that we are not ready to change. We are not ready to change because we feel our friends went into it the way we did and they are successful. And in a way they continued, maybe the way you decide to put it, or you decide to do it, and of course it's working for them, and of course you decide to stay. And of course, if you decide to stay in situations like this, it breaks you, and of course it moves you far from God. You see, David decides to fall back to God in every moment of his time because he knows his strength comes from God. What am I saying here on this video? You see, David knows there are going to be obstacles, or he knows there were already existing obstacles in his journey. So he goes back to God in his sweet praises to regain his strength, to take direction, to make God answer him, to take God's answers and directions. So when you decide to go back to God, or if you can decide to go back to God in your pains, in your challenges, in your situation, in the relationship where you find yourself, God will respond back to you. Because the assurance of the song that was given to me earlier, "Thou art my rock, oh blessed Redeemer," the scripture popped up, and it's so amazing because it was like God saw what I was pondering about, or I was my thoughts over the night, and I woke up. God was trying to send a message and say, tell my daughter, tell my son that until my son puts it back to me, it will be a little bit more difficult for my son to pull through. Until my daughter realizes I am his God, or I am her God, and of course she puts it back to me, it's still going to be a little bit difficult for my daughter to go through. So that scripture popped up because it was like a reminder of an assurance of, if you have been doing it this way and it's not working, so God is asking you to do it the right way. You should take it from the right way and do it. So if you find out that you're in a situation where it's really difficult for you to pull through in life, in your relationship now, that scripture is for you. Psalm 31 verse 3. It will help you because God is asking that, daughter, put it back to me. Daughter, talk to me about it. Daughter, consult me. Daughter, go back to the right way. Do it the right way. And of course, you will get it well. And of course, if you have been watching my channel and you have not subscribed